What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick, Tayler Kyles here, inside of Gillette Stadium, the Sports Illustrated Pavilion at Gillette Stadium, where the Patriots now have a new head coach. Mike Vrabel announced as the franchise's 16th head coach in history. And Taylor, he started off right with a bang, just as Mike Vrabel would, saying, hey, you guys can put your cameras down and clap for me a little bit. So some zinging, some zagging right there from Mike Vrabel, but goes on to mention how he wants to galvanize the football team, how they're going to earn their right to be here every single day. And I thought his most pointed comment, aside from at the very end where he said, let's get to work, he says we're going to remove entitlement from the organization, that we're going to earn the right to be here every single day. I want to get your thoughts on that, as well as Elliott Wolf's potential involvement. Mike Vrabel mentioned Elliott Wolf several times today about, he did not use the word collaboration like was used so many times about a year ago here at Gillette Stadium when Jerod Mayo was introduced, but did mention the front office and how they're going to sort of listen to ideas and that they want to bring good football players. So it doesn't sound like Elliott Wolf's going anywhere, but your thoughts on that, your thoughts on just kind of how Vrabel sounded today, what he had to say about the direction of the team, and of course Drake May and how they're going to work in the franchise quarterback.
Yeah, well, it was nice having a press conference where there weren't any crazy sound bites that you're just thinking,
nothing you have to pull back either.
Yeah, no walkbacks, nothing like that. So that was really nice to see from Mike Vrabel. I think a lot of this was as expected. Mike Vrabel, a guy who's buttoned up when it comes to answering the hard questions, will give you a little bit of insight, but also is going to give you a little bit of his personality as well, like you mentioned the joke when he opened. And then a couple others sprinkled in there. Mentioned Carragher looks exactly the same, even though he looks very, very different. Yeah. But when you mention the entitlement angle, I think that's something probably a lot of Patriots fans wanted to hear. When you end the season with Jelani Tavai calling out players, when you have almost every wide receiver other than Kendrick Bourne at some point speaking out, saying that, Kayshon Boutte multiple times saying he wanted the ball or voicing his displeasure with the game plan, similar with DeMario Douglas. So there was, frankly, a lot of entitlement. And with Jerod Mayo wanting to instill a culture where players felt comfortable speaking out, that also led to the fact that you had a really young and spots immature roster, and that showed. And I think Vrabel's going to keep a lot of that stuff buttoned up, but also it's not just going to be a dictatorship, and I think that's where Mike Vrabel strikes a really nice balance between Bill Belichick and Jerod Mayo. Like Mayo, he stressed the importance of building relationships, saying that, hey, if a guy has something on his face when he walks in the building and he's just carrying something, I want to make sure he gets 30, 45 minutes to himself rather than carrying that with him for 7+ hours when he's in the building and not being able to be his best. That ability to really understand, especially Vrabel, a guy who came into the league unheralded, signed with the Patriots unheralded, then turned into a really accomplished player and still got traded. He mentioned, I can relate to everybody. So I think he's going to demand a lot from his players, and I think he's going to say, hey, there's not going to be a whole lot of, me. It's going to be about we, with his kind of, that's not his words exactly. Maybe you should have stolen that from me. That's not too bad. But you can tell there's going to be a sense of camaraderie, but they're also going to work very hard. It's not going to be easy to be pointing the finger at somebody else because there's going to be a lot more accountability. Accountability really was the buzzword today, not so much collaboration like it was last year. And then speaking of that collaboration, the front office. Yeah. It was pretty notable that Vrabel mentioned Elliott Wolf multiple times, wanting to work together. I know our colleague Greg Bedard mentioned that there's a possibility that now there's a bunch of adults in the room. They really could work together, even though Ryan Callahan, who formerly worked with Mike Vrabel with Tennessee, most recently was with the Giants, he's likely going to be very heavily involved. Vrabel wouldn't specify the details. So my perception is that I think Callahan, don't know what his role is going to be specifically because Vrabel didn't get into it, but I feel like he's going to be basically Vrabel's Alonzo Highsmith, like Elliott Wolf, where he's going to be his right-hand man, the key advisor who's going to be in his ear and giving him his opinion when they want to make personnel moves. And Vrabel didn't say who was going to have that final say, but it's hard to think it's not going to be him. When you have Ryan Cowden, Elliott Wolf is probably going to have some kind of a different role when we're here a year from now. So still things up in the air, but it's at least encouraging that Vrabel's willing to work with Elliott Wolf, his staff, and try to continue to grow out this Patriots organization.
Interesting too, Elliott Wolf, Alonzo Highsmith, Macro, all here in person to witness the press conference. So it sounds like, at least for now, they will have roles in that front office. Before we wrap this up, Taylor, just focus on Drake May. Mike Vrabel mentioned the draft process and the free agency process, that they do want to protect Drake May. He mentioned the offensive line and how they need to sort of build from the trenches, something you've said throughout this whole interview process with Mike Vrabel. But he did also mention that they want to have a very efficient passing football team, and that his role in Drake May's development will be sort of the game management angle, which we know Vrabel is a football genius in that regard. We've seen the highlights with his time in Tennessee where he kind of can manipulate the play clock, the game clock, and things of that nature. And so just your thoughts. He also did mention no offensive coordinator yet. They're going to have to go through that search. Obviously, Josh McDaniels McDaniels is the sort of the buzzword there, but still a process to be taken care of. So just your thoughts on Drake May and what his future holds here with Mike Vrabel as his new head coach.
I really liked what Mike Vrabel had to say. One, he mentioned that they want to be aggressive as an offense, specifically a passing game, but they don't want to put the ball in harm's way. That's Drake May. I know the turnovers were an issue, but really most of that was just what you would expect from a player like Drake May in a tough position trying to make plays in an offense that can't really support him, so he had to do a little bit too much. But really the turnovers were different types of scenarios where you'd think, okay, year two, maybe he has more experience under his belt. Those go down a little bit. But really calculated aggressiveness is Drake May's entire thing. I also loved the protection. Yes, fix the trenches. You've invested in Drake May with the first-round pick. You've invested in Ramondre Stevenson as well. You gave him a 4-year extension. You want to make sure that those guys can play to the best of their ability. That starts up front. Also, I liked when Mike Vrabel was asked, what kind of offense do you want to run? It didn't sound like he's going to run some kind of stale offense. They want to be versatile. I think any offense really in the NFL that's successful understands you have to be versatile to win unless you just have better players than everybody else. Mike Vrabel acknowledged they're not really that kind of team. They said, we need to be a team that can capitalize on other teams' mistakes. And he said, I don't know if we're really that good right now. I like that bit of kind of insight from him and kind of a look behind the curtain and how he sees the team, a very honest response. But the fact that when he mentioned what he wants from the offense, the versatility, also wanting to mix up cadence, wanting to control and dictate tempo, those are things we saw a bit of last year, but I always thought when Drake May was up tempo, he looked like he was at his best because it's hard to defend Drake May when he's able to slow down the defense, the calls are a little more simple, and he can read things out. So I thought that was interesting. And also, he said they're not really going to be static. I don't think they're going to move around, so hopefully that means a lot of eye candy motion, things we see from the best NFL offenses. So a lot of encouraging things from Mike Vrabel, but most importantly, of course, the fact that he wants to make sure he can protect Drake May to have that efficient passing attack.
Should be exciting for Patriots fans. Mike Vrabel introduced as the Patriots' 16th head coach in franchise history, the third now in 3 seasons, less than 12 months after Gerard Mayo was introduced here at Gillette Stadium. We'll see if this one works. Sounds like there's a lot more excitement, maybe not excitement, but sort of a better feeling. Credibility, someone who's done it before instead of just a lot of what ifs and maybes with Gerard Mayo. So again, Mike Vrabel is the Patriots' new head coach. We will keep you posted here on Patriots Press Time for everything that happens around the New England Patriots. So make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the channel and read all of our written work on CLNSmedia.com.